Hey, everybody. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about your research assignment that's going to go with your reading for Wonder. So, what you have done, what we're doing is we're actually learning about how, through this book, how people with different issues cope, how they kind of develop across time, how families handle situations where someone where things are not what we would consider a normal family. So, what I wanted to talk to you about now is what your assignment's going to be. So, it's not just reading. What you're learning about is developmental psychology. You're looking at the way the family handles things, the sister who's an adolescent, Augie who's a young boy, and then the two parents. Um, so, what this assignment is going to be, it's going to count as your 6 or 9 weeks grade, test grade. And then it's also going to count as your semester test grade. So your semester test is going to be, or your paper will be turned in on December the 14th for your in-class proctor to grade. That way they have plenty of time. If it is turned in late, they will take off 10 points for every day that you're late. So I wanted you to get about halfway through the reading before we talked about the assignment so that you could really understand kind of what's expected. Now, there's a lot expected, but we're going to do a lot of things to help this be productive and be really good for you. Let's talk about it a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to you're going to take the information from your reading and you're going to research one of the theories that's listed below down here. Albert Bandura, Jean Piaget, Erik Erikson, B.F. Skinner. You're going to pick one of those particular developmental theorists. And what you're going to do when you research that person, you're going to take Augie and how he has grown across this book that you're reading, and you're going to discuss the different levels of development. So when Augie, when he's at home and he's sheltered, he doesn't build trusting relationships with people outside his family very well because he doesn't know how to, but he learns that as he goes to school. So when you look at those theorists, you're going to look at the different stages, the different processes that are in that particular theorist's in that particular theory. And you're going to compare that to how Augie grows across the book, how he emotionally, developmentally, how he and his family grow across the book. You're going to need to do 5 or 6. You're going to have 5 scholarly resources plus your book. So that would be 6 resources. It's going to be 3,000 words, which I know sounds like a huge amount, but it's really not as we get into this. You're going to do it in APA format. I'm going to give you an example of an APA paper. You're going to, as we move along next week, you guys are going to go and have a day that you don't do reading, but you're going to do research. And you're going to find your research and you need to be kind of doing some of this at home as well. You're not going to have enough time to do it all in class. So you're going to need to do research. You're going to need to go ahead and look at this after you watch this video. You need to go ahead and look at those theorists that are listed below and pick one based on what you've read below that you think you would like to do research and compare the characters in the book to. And so say you pick Erikson and his levels of development. Then you need to you'll start collecting articles on people Augie's age, on adults, on adolescents or teenagers, based on that theory. So you might research, on Google Scholar, research 10 to 12-year-old children related to Erikson's theory. And then it'll give you articles and you can pull information from there. So you're going to start getting that done. Another thing you're going to do as part of this process to help you do well on it is you're going to need index cards. So you're going to need a stack of index cards. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. A couple of you can split them because they're $1 and there's like 100 or 200 in a pack of index cards. You're not going to need 200, but you're going to take, and for information you're going to use out of that article or out of the book, you're going to make an index card with your reference. That way, when it's time to write your paper, you'll actually have all your sources together. I'm going to show you how to do that. When it's time to complete those index cards, that's a test grade. And once you get your index cards completed, then we'll start doing a rough draft. You'll have a day or a class period or two to work on your rough draft. Then the next class period, you'll switch papers with someone, and you'll have some specific questions that they're going to read through your paper, and they're going to give you constructive criticism on your paper so that you can go back and revise that paper and make a second draft. And then you'll do that again. You'll have a different person review your paper, answer those questions again, and then you'll make a final draft. And that final draft will be the one that you turn in. And you're not going to turn it into me. You're going to turn it into your in-class facilitator. You're going to have a rubric, just like always, that tells you what's expected of the final paper. I'm going to give you examples. I'm actually going to show you examples when we do index cards. I'm going to take and I'm going to put some examples of what I expect on index cards. I'll give you an example of what an APA paper should look like, so that an APA, it's not a lab report, it's actually an APA paper where you actually cite in the paper where you got your resource. And we'll go through each one of those things. I'll show it to you on the Screencastify so that I can highlight, underline, and show you. But that's going to be what this project is going to be. You're going to, by doing this, you actually are learning what it's like to do research for college, research for your English classes in the future. Research, if you're in college, when you go to college, is research for every class, because pretty much every class requires you to write papers, except for the only class that I think maybe not college algebra, but you do tons of work in college algebra. So you're going to go ahead and we're going to work through these steps. Now, like I said, today is the 29th of December. So you have the 30th. So you have 15 days to complete this. Now, it is 2 weeks of class time. So please don't think you can rush through this and you can do it the night before. There are multiple steps that have to be done. If you don't have your rough draft for someone to review, that's a grade. Like your rough draft, and then the person who reviews your rough draft and you review in someone's rough draft, that's 2 separate grades. Your second draft and someone reviewing it, that's a separate grade. That's 2 grades. The index cards are a test grade. Your paper is going to count as 2 tests, or it's going to count as a 6 weeks and a semester grade. So you want to do this, and you want to take your time, and you want to do it right. You want to be sure that what you're doing when you peer review for someone else, don't just not read their paper and just write something down. Take time and really look at their paper and answer the questions. I'm going to give you a peer review rubric, and it'll look a little different than the other rubrics that I give you guys. But it'll say, it'll ask them to pick out your thesis statement or your introductory statement. It'll ask them if you argued your point well. There's like 12 questions to answer. But what happens if you do yours well and they review your paper well, your second draft will be better. When they do that again, your final draft that you will turn in will be a really good paper. Now, also, please don't cut and paste, because I'm going to give your in-class facilitators a website to copy and paste your paper into. If it's plagiarized, more than 20% plagiarism, then we will not give you credit for it. This is your work. This is a big project. This is a lot of work. We're going to spend basically a month doing this work. So I expect a lot out of what you're doing. So be sure, once you've watched this video, you're going to have a very short reading assignment to go along with this today, that you take your time and you review. You look up pick your theorist. you look at the rubric, and then do your reading. But be sure that you're doing your reading, because you're going to have to use multiple pages and multiple points in the book. And if you haven't read the book, it's going to be really hard to compare when compare Augie's reaction to his first day of school to what the developmental theorist says, or Augie's sister's thoughts on him, or how she reacts to different things that he does, for you to compare those. So be sure that you've read, okay? All right, if you have questions about this, please let me know. I'll be glad to help you in any way. Like I said, next week we will, when it's time for you to, I'll give you a day to kind of pull your references together. You should already have picked your theorist. By Monday, probably Tuesday and Wednesday, I will let y'all work on research. Wednesday, you'll have a couple of examples of index cards and what they should look like when you're done. So please get your index cards over the weekend. And then, we will move on. After you get your index cards, I'll give you an example of what an APA paper looks like. And we'll go through it. And then you'll continue to do your reading, but we will continue to pull things together for your paper to get it done. And like I said, your final paper is due December the 14th, so that your in-class facilitator has time to get all of the grading done before semester grades are due, okay? So like I said, if you have questions, please be sure you let me know. Thanks, everybody.